Hey everybody, ChickenBrad here again, and I got done playing some Blitz games tonight, and I decided, I wanted to play a standard time game, because, that's the purpose of my Blitz games, is to try and improve on my openings, and, just my play in general, and then use it to see how it goes against my standard time game. So this is a 20-minute timed game, and in the game, I played an aggressive Gambit system called the Evans Gambit, which, if you're not familiar with, I'll kind of go over the ideas behind it in a second here. And if you're a relatively new player or a player that's just starting out learning your openings, I would urge you to take a look at some of the available Gambits for the openings that you like to play, and maybe give them a shot, especially against the lower-rated players, because generally what you gain with a Gambit is you lose a small amount of material, usually 1 or 2 pawns, and if played correctly, you gain a significant lead in development, which at a very high level, it's in all these Gambit situations, obviously, it's possible for your opponent to get out of it and keep the material the majority of the time. However, if at a lower level, sometimes you can really overwhelm your opponent if they're not extremely careful because of all the advantage in development you have. So I'm just going to kind of go over that here. I was planning on showing this game anyway, but this actually turned out to be a really good example, and I think I played close to perfectly here. I know that's kind of how do you say, a little bit of a well, saying that you're playing perfectly is tough without looking at it, but I think it's a really good example of what can happen, in a Gambit if played correctly and your opponent isn't very, very careful. So let's just get started, and you'll see what I mean. So starts with e4 in e5, king's pawn opening. And then from here, just the normal Italian game. I'm sure you've seen this a million times before. Very, very old opening, and this is a very old Gambit. It's been around a long time. And so this move here, bishop out to c4, this signals the Italian game. And black responding bishop to c5, I believe, is the Gioco piano. And there's a bunch of ways the game can go from here, but I chose to play an aggressive Gambit, and which is called the Evans Gambit. And it even says down here in a little cheat sheet, Evans Gambit says decline, but it hasn't been declined yet. And by doing that, it's this pawn move. Now, you might go, well, what's happening here? You're giving away a pawn. Yes, this pawn is being completely just given up. But in doing so, I gain a lead in development, and also I open lines for my pieces to attack. So I won't regain this pawn unless my opponent plays either incorrectly or well, he can still play correctly, and I can gain the material back. But anyway, so if he decides to accept this, and if you're on the other side of this, I do recommend you accept the Gambit. So he does. I believe, let's go into edit mode here. I believe it's a mistake to take with the knight here, and I'm actually not 100% sure why. I know that I can just grab this pawn with a strong threat here to hit f7. But that might actually be the best line for white. I'll have to look into that and possibly get back to you. But anyway, so he took with his bishop, which is correct, and now the Gambit's played like this. Push to c3, and now he must move his bishop away. And there's a couple different squares he can go to. He can come back here, which is just silly underdevelopment, or he can move to one of the more passive squares, which I won't recommend. And then I think moving here is, and I've seen players move to this square, which I believe is bad. I think problems can happen if they do that. But the correct move here is to move the bishop back to a5, which he does. And from here, you play your pawn up to d4. Now, so essentially you're offering another pawn here, which he does take, and if you're on the black side, you should accept this. Yeah, you don't have to, but if you've already accepted the first Gambit, you should keep generally keep taking the material. Now, one direction this game can go, and I actually saw a tournament game where this happened, where white actually got beaten pretty badly, was where white went ahead and recaptured here with the knight. And this is not the way the gambit is generally played, because black can recapture here, and this pawn is held down, is tied down by this pin. So once you've retaken with the queen, obviously there's a threat here, but from this point, you know, you've kind of lost your lead in development, and your queen's out in the middle and can get attacked. It's just not as good. You know, if play continues, maybe something like this. It's just not as good for white. So, and you know, this knight's kind of cramped in. This pawn's under attack. This isn't so good for white. So, and if you're going to play the gambit in the first place, you got to be willing to take a chance. That's what a gambit is. It's kind of a gamble, I suppose, which is probably where the term comes from in the original Latin, or I have no idea. Moving right along. Okay, so from here, you should take this next pawn, and so you should. Okay, well it's white's move, and we already decided that white shouldn't recapture here. So and the correct move is to castle, which is what I did, giving up this other pawn. And black chose not to take it here, and I think he should. Normally it would go something like this. He would capture, and then I believe queen out here, threatening f7. He has to do something about that, and then I just go ahead and grab here. So from this point, this is the main position in the beginning. Once in Evan's Gambit accepted, if both sides play book lines, and as you can see, black has a 2-pawn advantage, but white has clear lines to attack and a development advantage. But this isn't the way this game went. From here, he did not capture this pawn that was offered, and instead he played his knight up to e7. And I was a little confused by this, but I figured, well, hey, this is great for me because my king's not here anymore, so now this pawn's freed up. So I went ahead and recovered one of my pawns, and I still have a pretty significant advantage, great center control, and you know, I'm ready to bring all my pieces into the attack. From here, let's see, what did he play here? Okay, so he pushed his pawn up to d4, which is a really aggressive move. And I looked at this and went, you know, what's he trying to do here? And I took some time with this. I think I only took about a minute. It's only a 20-minute game, but and I decided that I almost, you know, have no choice but to capture here, and I wanted to capture with my pawn first. It would be nice to have this rook move here, but unfortunately, it's not available due to his bishop out here on the annoying a5 square, which is one of the drawbacks of the Evans Gambit. That bishop can be annoying. So I captured with my pawn, which I believe is probably the strongest move, and he recaptured with his knight as I expected. And I kind of looked at this position and I thought, you know, what do I want to do here? His king's in the center, and I think I have to take advantage of that right away in order to preserve my advantage here, my development advantage here, because as you can see, at this point, I'm down a pawn, and my development advantage is dwindling as the moves go by. So I have to create some threats here. So I decided to play my bishop out to the a3 square to prevent his king from castling. And there's not really any way for him to stop this immediately. He can block it by playing one of these knights out or the bishop here. But I think I had some ideas to refute that anyway. You know, there's obviously a lot of different directions the game could go, and I'm not going to really go into all of them. But I decided that, you know, even if he tried to do something like this and slow me down a little bit, that wouldn't necessarily be so bad. I think I had ideas of, you know, something like, you know, capturing here and then capturing here and then something like this. I don't know. Or checking here. I felt like I could still keep his king in the center. or at least harass him for a little bit longer. I'm not sure this is the direction the game would have gone, but just some ideas. So I'm gonna